Hello everyone, Kelly Bear here. I believe this will be my final video for spooky season, either doing a spooky themed video or using spooky themed decks to illustrate what I'm talking about in the video. I have a cauldron of tea, literally, and we're gonna get cracking on talking about pathworking, and this is a VR to Anna Astral Lady Tarot. Again, I think this is like my third VR now to this tag, show me how you practice. Don't show me decks, show me how you practice. And this is all about, if you haven't heard about it, if not, then I highly recommend you go check Anna's videos and the sort of subsequent VRs out. Lots and lots of fun, lots of interesting, juicy information. But show me how you practice. It can mean how you read the cards for yourself or for other people. So what is it like in practice? How you practice in the sense maybe like how you do practice readings, how you practice reading the tarot when you're not actually doing an official spread or reading, and how you practice maybe how you like learn, or I guess in other ways how you practice, like other ways that you utilize decks other than doing tarot reading. So that's what this one is about. It's about pathworking. So what is pathworking? I've had people ask me this before. For me, it can mean, you know, following either a guided meditation, a pre-recorded guided sort of meditation, or situation scenario, whether that's been written out and you sort of try to memorize it. I'm not good with that method, honestly. Or whether it's recorded as in audio, which is much better for me, at least, I find. And you can get them pre-recorded, you know, on YouTube, and there used to be like books that would come with CDs and things like that, or with like music with them in the background and things. On meditation apps there'll be like guided meditations, or sort of almost like path workings, or you can record them yourselves, which is I have done lots over the years. And what is it for? Like, why does path work? So I mean, it's fun, it's interesting, it can tell you a lot about yourself, or about the archetypes or the characters or the situations, the scenes that you're working with. It's really good to, I find, to then like journal afterwards. A really good example, hang on, I'm just going to pause because I've just realized there's something that I can show you. Okay, so here I have A Year in the Wildwood. This is something that's taken me more than a year to do, but that's just me with my issues, my problems with sticking to anything long term. But there's some exercises at the back of the book that are called the Daft Days, and it's something you can do before the official Year in the Wildwood starts in February. The author, Alison Cross, actually says that you can start the Year in the Wildwood whenever you want. She just had to pick a point to start it in. And here we have a prompt and a little bit of a kind of a mini path working here. So it says, today take some time to sit in silence with both of these images before you, and it was the hooded man and the mirror card from the Wildwood Tarot. When you are ready, close your eyes and step into the world of the hooded man. Feel the wintry air chill your skin and hear the sound of snow underfoot. Ask the figure for advice on understanding your work with the wildwood. Don't forget to ask Wren too. He is the page of arrows after all. Ask anything in the card for insights about about understanding your wildwood work. Thank everything in the card for revealing their truths for you, and when you are ready, open your eyes and record your thoughts in your journal. And then you could do the same with the mirror card. And I did both of these. I did these exercises. It was really, God, sorry, I'm knocking the camera. It was really, really interesting. And so I didn't feel that I needed to pre-record that with a voicey thing, so I just sort of read it and sort of memorized it. So what was it? It's January. Let me see. And I did talk about this in a philosophical waffles. Hang on, I'm going to pause it and find it. Okay, I found it. It would have helped if I actually take a note of the date. So yeah, take some time to. I just sort of wrote out the little bit of thing, and then I sort of wrote out the last little, like a synopsis of what to do, what it was asking to do, just so if I'm coming back I don't always have to refer to the book itself. I can just sort of grab my actual journal. And then I wrote at length, and if you want to hear more about this, I'll see if I can remember to, like, I wrote quite a few pages. I wrote one, two, 3, 4.5 pages of very messy writing about my experience. So this journaling is really good, and it did take, honestly, it did take me a good 45 minutes to an hour to write up my thoughts afterwards. But I find that it's really important to, if you are going to write it out, to do it straight away or record it. An easier way to do it, a quicker way to do it, would be do a voice note, so that you can just sort of reel off your thoughts. And I think going forward I might do that and then transcribe what I have said out loud recorded on my phone, for example, what I've said, if I'm feeling particularly fatigued after a pathworking session, because I do find like there's nothing beats writing it down, but I am aware that if I then have something to transcribe, I'm less likely to do it at a later date, because I'm a procrastinator and I put stuff off. So yeah, I tend to just sort of spend some time. I always make sure I've got a good amount of time set aside. I always make sure I've got at least 30 minutes set aside for the pathworking, and then at least half an hour to write up, at least. So I'm looking at like at least an hour set aside, preferably 2, so I don't feel like I'm rushing and I can like really get into the zone. So that's sort of how I prepare, why you would do it, and like what it's good for, and how you would go about doing it, like with regards to it being pre-recorded or finding pre-recorded ones, and how you'd go about then taking that information. And this information is really useful because then you can go back and you can read it, you can it will deepen. And with this exercise, particularly this year in the wild, is deepening my relationship with the deck and the characters in the deck. So they're giving me their knowledge and their wisdom. It's not just me reading like the cards as we would traditionally with tarot. I'm actually going in there and getting that information firsthand. Is it my subconscious? Maybe. Is it the spirit of the card? Maybe. Is it some kind of like universal consciousness archetype talking to me? Maybe. Who knows? Maybe it's all of those things at once, right? How exciting. So yeah, so that's like sort of a little bit. I feel like I'm rushing through this because my videos just get so long. So if you need to like slow my voice down or speed it up even, I don't know, I think you can slow videos down in YouTube. I know you can speed them up. I don't know, maybe I'm misremembering. But yeah, so then it's all about sort of, you know, finding a card you want to step into, because you can do this with tarot, which is giving you a specific scene. You can do this with any piece of artwork, any drawing, any painting. You can step inside to it. But if we're tarot readers, we kind of already have a relationship with the cards, right? And some of the characters in the cards in our decks. And so that's why I think it's quite interesting to go visit them. So my first experience with pathworking was with a tarot card, and I think that's why it's sort of stuck with me so over the years. So many a moon ago, when I was about 16, and I'd gotten my first deck, and it was the Osho Zen Tarot, and I had a book. For the life of me, I couldn't tell you what book it was, but there was this exercise in like meeting the goddess or something, and there was like a written out, a transcribed pathworking that you could do, like a meditation, just getting into it, and then a pathworking scene, and it talked about meeting this goddess character, this sort of glowing goddess type creature, person, I don't know, entity. And I decided that I wanted a visual representation for this, which isn't always, I don't know, the best way to go, because sometimes you want to see what just comes up. But I was very new to meditation and all these things, and I'm a very visually orientated person. So I picked out the Empress card from my Osho Zen Tarot, and I placed that before me on my altar that I had when I was 16. And it was in a little like wheel wheelie 3-drawer unit, IKEA 3-drawer unit that I set my altar up on. And yeah, and I remember I was home alone, and it was about, I don't know, 9 o'clock in the evening, and yeah, it was great. And it still sticks with me. I can still almost see and feel that specific path working, and we're talking like, not quite 30 years later, but not far off it. 27 years later, 28 years later. So yeah, it can be quite powerful, because that's something that stuck with me for all those years, right? So yeah, so and then I really got into it. So this is a lot of pre-waffle before I get into it, but I've just, some people haven't heard of pathworking or have never tried it, and I don't know if all of this preamble has been helpful, or if it's been a bit too rushed. If there are any things that I've touched on quite quickly and you would like to hear more deeply on, do let me know in the comments, and I'll see if I can sort of hook you up with a less manic, less kind of goofy themed video, a bit of more, oh shit, sorry, goodness me, a bit of more of a like serious take, explanation of stuff. This is meant to keeping it quite light and fun for the season. So I wanted to show you 4 different ways that I kind of choose a tarot card or work with a tarot card for path working. I've got my spooky decks, I've got the Halloween Tarot, the Shadowland Tarot, and the Bohemian Gothic Tarot as my examples, and I've got some other cards to the side from these as well. So the first way that the reason I might pick a tarot card for a pathworking is there's an interesting character I want to interact with, I want to meet. And that Year in the Wildwood one that I showed you just earlier, that's a good example, because that's going in and meeting a character and interacting with the wren that's also in the card and all that kind of stuff. So finding interesting characters to meet and interact with. So I have some examples here. So from the Halloween Tarot, I thought that the Hermit could be fun. I'm just gonna pause it. Sorry, I just wanted to zoom in a skosh. And the reason that I picked him is he just looks really funny. I mean, he looks like he has a severed hand stuck in his pocket. It was slightly concerning. And this like pumpkin, he's giving the pumpkin a brain. I don't know what's going on. That looks like a self-portrait. We've got a little froggy friend. We've got our usual cat that's in all of the cards. We've got a little rat here. This skull that still has eyeballs. It's just really fun. Like, you could step into this card and into his laboratory, and I don't know, maybe you could be a silent observer and just see what he's working on. What is he mixing up in this little beaker, this little test tube here? What is bubbling away on the Bunsen burner? What has he got in his mortar and pestle? There's a scalpel there as well. What is the book here that the skull is resting on? Also got like a couple of other little, like a star, and like is it the Mars symbol for Mars or Mercury? I can't quite tell, little devil horns there. But yeah, and you don't have to just talk to him. You could talk to the skull, which makes me think of very much, is it Harry Dresden? Does Harry Dresden have a skull that he talks to with a spirit in it, a familiar spirit? I think it's the Dresden Files. You could have a chat with a cat. Well, that rhymes. You could have a chat with the rat. That also rhymes. Or you could have a conversation with this froggy fellow. You could talk to all of them. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. Maybe you'll even be able to talk to the pumpkin. But it could just be quite a fun little scenario to step into. So we'll just pop that like that. From the Shadowland, I picked this Queen of Pentacles. I thought she would be a fun choice. I mean, firstly, we've got a cat again with their own cauldron. I mean, come on, too cute. But I just think she seems kind of cool. She's holding on to this cauldron. The physical properties, the manifestation of her sort of wealth and groundedness, and it looks like she's got like a jet necklace on, which is super witchy. What does she have to say to you? Like, what maybe she'll give you something out of her cauldron. Maybe you are, I mean, to put it on a more serious note, maybe you are trying to figure out, maybe you're trying to create a spell for something, and you're thinking you're going to go like the spell bag or like potion or brew kind of route for it, and you're unsure of what to include, maybe you could come to this witch, this Queen of Pentacles, because she's dealing with the physical, right? And ask her, what would be really good for this particular spell I'm doing. Let her know what it's for. Could you give me some guidance on what I could put in? And maybe the things that she hands you from the cauldron are the items that you might utilize for the spell bag. She might even, give you a piece of paper with a sigil on it. You might be able to remember a sigil, and that would go in your spell bag. There's all sorts of things you can do. And what I find quite interesting here is like the idea of going to her for knowledge is we do have an owl. I think it's an owl. I read it as an owl, who are associated with wisdom. And then we have the apples, which again are associated with knowledge. So this seems like someone that you would go to for knowledge. And maybe you talk to the owl, maybe you talk to the cat, maybe the cat is stirring up a brew of tea and they're going to give you something to drink, or maybe you could take an apple. Maybe the witch is going to invite you into her cottage, and then there's like further exploration going on. So, it seems like a kind of a goofy, spoopy card, but, there's layers to it, and there's places you can go with it. It's really, really exciting. There's also the guidebook to this is great and has journal prompts, which you could also use as jumping off points. So we have that. And then from the Bohemian Gothic Tarot, we have the Nine of Cups. In my headcanon, this is definitely Edgar Allan Poe. I don't have the guidebook for this, although I've heard it is available again, because it seemed like it wasn't available since for like forever. Of course, as soon as I don't have money to spare, it's available, which is a bit frustrating, but we'll see. Maybe Santa will bring it for me. But maybe you step into this gentleman's parlour, and he gives you a glass of absinthe. I've never quite been able to work out what's going on, but it looks like there's all sorts of viscera and guts on a cloth, which is kind of gross, and he's got sort of like jars full of, again, sort of organs or something. And then again, can you see in the background there's like books and jars and things. Yeah, maybe he's going to offer you a drink. Do you accept it? I mean, if you're talking about the Fae folk, it's never like, it's always the mythology, the folklore is like, don't accept anything to eat or drink. But if you feel comfortable enough accepting a drink from him, accept a drink from him, because he's not Fae as far as we know. And like, get you to sit down, have a conversation. What are you talking about? Does he have anything interesting to say? Does he have any advice? Is he going to explain what the hell is going on here? I don't know, but could be fun. So that's the first way that I will pick a card, is an interesting person, character, or characters within the card to meet and chat with. Okay, so that's the first one. The next way that I pick a card, any card, is going on a journey. Okay, so you're going on a quest. There's a route that you can take in a card again. So we've got the Le Tarot Interdit Vampiria and the Shadowland Tarot. So I forgot to mention that one at the beginning. I forgot I had one from this one. So here we have the moon. So when I say going on a journey, or there's a path to take, literal pathworking, right? This way of doing it, we have a guide, right? We've got these two characters that you're going to follow into the down the path, and we have a little cottage. So you're going to walk through this sort of slightly sparse woodland area, and maybe you're going to go off into this little cottage. Is that where the witch that we saw previously lives, or is it a different residence? Or maybe you choose not to go into there and you carry on down, and it looks like we've got sort of mountainous forest, which is very Scotland, Highlands, which I love. And maybe you're following these guys, or you sort of put yourself as this character here, and you're walking a lobster, because why not, right? So that's one scenario. Another card that I picked is the Eight of Cups, which you could pick from most Smithwaite based decks, because you do have a character walking away, and you have a sort of pathway scene. I'm just going to have a sip of my tea. And so that's what I mean when I say you have a guide in the card for a pathway, where like I said, you can put yourself in the position of this character, and I'm going to get to that with another way that I pick cards later, but I'm picking these in the sense that you have a guide to follow. So here we're following these two. In this one, or of the Eight of Cups, you're following this solo character away from the cups or the vessels, up into usually sort of a mountainous or sort of hilly region, right? So where is this leading? Are they ignoring you? Do they like acknowledge your presence behind them? Are they sort of talking to you? Do they stop to turn back? Do they wait for you to catch up and you walk alongside them? Do they have anything to say? And keep an eye an eye out for your surroundings. I should actually say that, actually, right? So when you are in a card, in a scene, what you want to do is you want to utilize all of your senses. So what can you see? Obviously, that's the main thing that we're talking about here. But what can you smell? Is there anything you can touch or feel? What is the quality of the air like? Is it humid? Is it cold? Is there a breeze? Is there the smell of, like, you know, a fire burning, or like like a fire burning, like a woodland campfire burning? Or can you smell, you know, flowers in a meadow, like, or the pine, the pine resin from the trees? All those kinds of things. Can you taste anything? If you're taking a drink from someone or something to eat, what does that taste like? If it's something you're familiar with, like an apple, you might know what it tastes like. But if it's like something quite strange and fantastical, what does that taste like? What is it, the closest thing to you that you can describe that you know of? So that's another one. And then another character I thought to take us on a journey is this King of Mirrors, or the King of Cups, in the Vampiria Tarot. I love this guy. He's again one of my favourite characters in this deck, along with Temperance, who basically looks like Grace Jones. I love that card so much. Here we see this sailing character, slightly pirate-esque character. He's looking at he's mapping the stars, or following the stars. So here we're not going on a path, we're on a vessel, we're on a piece of transportation, and this is what's carrying us. We're not going on our legs, or, you know, in our wheelchair. We're going on a vessel. And so I thought this would be quite an interesting way. Maybe this guy stands in silence next to you, and you both look out across the bow, and you sort of just experience what that feels like. Feel the wind in your hair, the breeze, hear the sounds of the waves lapping against the edge of the ship, all that kind of thing. He might have some wisdom to impart. Maybe he teaches you about the stars, or has an interesting tale to tell you. I don't know. So that's another way, which is the going on a journey, or taking a path working, right? Okay. The fourth way is going inside somewhere, into a certain space, not as a path necessarily, but like a set confined space. So it's a bit different it's different to stepping into a scene like here, or with the Edgar Allan Poe character, or following a guide on a pathway like here. What we're doing is we're finding a space. So here I have the Halloween tarot. We have the Tower card, and it is a haunted house, and you can see all the wee ghosties in the windows. They look really goofy. They're very sweet. There's even one, can you see, hiding in the eye socket of the skull there, and this like very fed up looking statue, like grotesque statue. You know, this confined space, you can imagine yourself walking up to the gate, opening the gates. I can even just right now hear the creaking noise as that gate opens, as you push it open. Hear your footsteps walking up to the doorway, and it looks like the door is open and the light is shining, so it's inviting you in, and you can then investigate the house. So it's a little bit like going on a journey with the previous description, but we're in a confined space, we're not outside, right? And so I just think, like, with this particular card having all the ghosts, it seems quite scary, but maybe you're going in there to confront your demons and your ghosts, and like it could be a less frightening image to use as sort of a certain kind of shadow work to tackle certain issues or demons or things that haunt you, right? So I think that's quite a fun card. Another one here, we have a confined space is a bit more moody. We have a ruined castle, it looks like, by the crenellations at the top here. We have this guardian. Can you get past this Two of Wands? This character here, he's got his wand, his staff. We have a ghost. Are you going to be able to get past? Are they friendly or are they not? But if you get past them, do they have anything to say to you? You then have this like sort of destroyed, almost like courtyard, overgrown grounds to explore. You know, what do you see? Do you sit down somewhere and just take a quiet moment, or do you just hang out with these folks for a little bit and have a chat, you know? But this is another kind of confined space. This is a sort of more much spookier than this one, I think, as a place to step into, but still very, very cool. Something to tackle for the darker months, right? And then the other card that I picked out was this one kind of does a twofer, because this hermit character looks very interesting, quite an interesting person to meet, but I also picked him because I thought, as a confined space, you could follow him into a woodland grove, and that's sort of a confined space, and maybe you sit and you converse with him within this woodland grove, or you see what else comes to you, sort of, you know, freestyle what's coming to you, whether it's animals or spirits or, you know, what have you, within the woodland grove. But you sort of start off at the edge of the woods with this character. And actually, with my own path working, a lot of the time it's a little bit Nightmare Before Christmas, actually, which sounds really goofy, but I have a woodland. I have a woodland grove, which is where I tend to land a lot of the time. If I'm doing my own sort of freestyle path workings and my own meditations. Like, I have like this woodland space that I explore, that I journey through. So I will always wake up in this exact woodland grove, in the exact same position, lying down. It's very, very mossy. It's quite dewy. The time of day can change, the temperature can change, the weather can change, all those kinds of things. But it's this very same. So the season will change, but the space is always the same. It's surrounded by trees, and one way that I can then get from this astral grove to other pathworking spaces is to go through a door in the trees, a bit like I said, like Nightmare Before Christmas, where you have like Halloween Town, and there's the Easter one, and there's the Valentine's one, and then there's of course the Christmas one with the Christmas tree on the door, and that's one way of stepping into, and that's my preferred method. But some pathworkings will actually, if you're getting a pre-recorded one, for example, putting aside the idea of working with tarot for a second, they might have an introduction into that space in there already, so I would just use that just for ease generally. And it's also, I think, something that Aidan Wachter has talked about in some of his books or in podcasts about, you know, having a space, a land where you explore not just the woodlands, but maybe, and also Matt Oren, I believe, as well, in Mastering Magic, I want to say. Is it Mastering Magic or Psychic Witch? I think it's Mastering Magic, where you have like this whole map, this whole landscape. And Anna Astral Lady Tarot spoke a little bit about this, about how you can map out the world of a particular deck, and for her example was the Triomphe della Luna Paradoxical, because that's the Anna deck. And you can do the same with your own astral space. So I tend to sort of work within a woodlands, and there is a meadow, and there are mountains, but I tend not to wander into them. I've wandered into the meadow a little bit, but it reminds me that I should probably try and like expand and explore past the woodland, and map this space out. And it's not related to any particular tarot deck, it's just a space that I like to go to, or when I'm meditating I go to this space and I feel sort of comfortable and safe and relaxed. And it's woodland because I adore being in the woodlands, in the forest. That's why I go up to Scotland for walking in the woodlands so much, in the Highlands and in the woodlands, because it's my favourite terrain, honestly. But yeah, there's even work, even all these years I've been doing these things, and there's still more that I could do. There's so much to explore. Okay, and then the fourth way to pick a card, any card, pick a card, is to put yourself in the card as one of the actual characters. And I did touch on that a little bit with the moon card, and maybe putting yourself in the position of that humanoid figure. I guess you could also be the lobster if you wanted, nothing's stopping you. Be an interesting perspective, wouldn't it? But yeah, I've got another 3 cards. So I've got 2 Shadowland and 1 from the Bohemian Gothic. So the first one, I love this card. This and the 5 of Pentacles in the Fae Tarot are 2 of my favourite depictions of the 5 of Pentacles. In the 5 of Pentacles for the Fae Tarot, it's flipped. We have we get to see it from the people in a cozy living room, and then there's a really adorable monster staring outside into the window, looking really forlorn. It's so cute. So we have it from the opposite. We're looking at it from Sasquatch, from Bigfoot. And the Bigfoot is looking at this little gaggle of campers here. They've got their little camper van and their car hitched up there. It's hitched up to their car. So what you could do is 2 things. One, you could put yourself in the position of Sasquatch, but I'd be more inclined to do is to put myself in the position of these little people that look like they might be making s'mores. I think they're making s'mores. And pick one of them or join their ranks, but I tend to just put myself as one of them and see what happens. Do you spot the Bigfoot? What is your response? Do you invite him over? He looks lonely. Do you have a chat with him? Can he get across? Is there a little some stepping stones over here, or a little bridge over here that maybe he could come across and come see you? Do you just sit at the edge of the water and look out and hear his calls? I don't know, I just thought that was quite sweet. Another one is you struggling to chill out, and like I've just said, I have my little woodland grove that I like to chill out in, but the 4 of Swords just generally is quite a good one to chill out in. Obviously, with the classic Smithway, you're on a it's a stone tomb type situation in a cold looking church. Doesn't look particularly restful, and that's why I picked this one, because we've got this skeleton in a hammock as the sun goes down. I like to think maybe he's got a tequila over here, or some kind of cocktail or a beer or something, and he's just chilling. So you need to calm your tits, get yourself into a nice cozy representation of a card. 4 of Swords was the one I picked, and just allow yourself to be this character. Just, like I said, hear the birds singing as the sun goes down, feel the last remnants of the warmth of the sun as it slips below the horizon. If you're going into this particular card, feel the sway of the hammock, and how it hugs around your body. What does that feel like, and then finally I picked, if we're going to get super meta, the Wheel of Fortune from the Bohemian Gothic Tarot. Pop yourself in the position of the querent here and get a reading. Get a reading from this fortune teller, this reader. And you read tarot, right? I'm making an assumption, but you know what I mean. You probably read tarot if you're watching this. What cards come up for you? Is she using a Marseille? Is she using a Smithway? I imagine it would be more like Marseille, because the Smithway wouldn't have existed in this sort of imaginary Bohemian Gothic world, although we do get some, it wouldn't, I don't think 1909, there's some Edwardian elements to this, but it's mostly, seems sort of 19th century. Just see what comes up for you. Or is she using playing cards? That'd be quite cool. Maybe she reads your palm. Maybe she pulls a couple of cards and she reads your palm or your tea leaves. Does she let you shuffle and cut her deck, or does she handle her deck herself? Does she spread all the cards out and then pick them one by one, or lets you pick them one by one? Or does she shuffle overhand or riffle them and then just pick them off the top? You just and get the reading, and then when you come out of the pathworking, you can write up what the cards came up for you, and you've got this like astral reading. Like, how fun is that? That's so cool. So if I was to pre-record something for myself for this particular card, how would I go about that? So like I said earlier, I would just use my phone. Maybe I would write out some notes first, and then I would record for myself, or I might just sort of wing it, which I have done as well. And maybe I would be like, where do you want to start? Do you want to start outside the building? Do you want to start in the grove and step through? Like me, I'm talking as me, myself. Like, am I going to step through, get to my grove, get into my astral space, find the door that has, I don't know, a tarot card, the backs of a tarot card on it or something, I don't know, or a little fan of cards on it, and that means fortune teller or what have you. Or maybe it's got a crystal ball on it, I don't know. And then I might walk up, and I could go up to open the door and go into this building, this what looks to be like a castle. These are like steps and a glass like door, French door. So maybe it's the basement of a grand home, and this person here, this what appears to be a woman here with a lace cap, maybe she's the the staff for a fancy family, a rich family, and she gives readings in her spare time, if she has any spare time, let's be honest, but you know what I mean. Or maybe she's just this like well-known lady, this seer that sort of, you have to know someone, you have to know the right people to get an appointment with. So maybe you sort of walk up here, this little, looks like there's a little cobbled street maybe, and you knock on the door, maybe a little bell rings, and she invites you down, and then she says, take a seat. Maybe she has a little stove off to the side where she's got some hot water boiling, and she's like, oh, would you like some tea? And you can say yes or no. Maybe she's got some biscuits, nice bickies, sit yourself down, and then just sort of imagine her, like record her just saying, you take a seat. What does the chair, and give yourself pauses to feel things. So sometimes I like to build in, like, I will describe what the air smells like and feels like, for example. Or sometimes I leave pauses and I allow myself to gauge it myself. Try stuff out, see what you prefer. I like a bit of both, right? Mixing it up. I'd be like, the sun is slowly starting to set as you walk along the cobbled street, and you see the door with the sign, with maybe you would give this character a name, or maybe it just as a symbol, a secret symbol that tells you it's this fortune teller. You descend the steps, and you hear the echoing of the heels of your shoes on the stone. She just, the old, there is an old lady. She is, and you can describe what she's wearing if you want, and like how old she seems to be. You see a sturdy wooden table and a single lit candle, blah blah blah. There is a stack of cards. She gestures for you to take a seat, and you sit down, placing your boxes and your items on the floor beside you, and maybe she asks you for payment up front. Maybe you give her some coins, or maybe she wants something else. Maybe it's a trade for something, I don't know. Maybe you have a skill and that you can swap with her. Maybe that's what's going on. Like maybe you make, I don't know, maybe you make tinctures, and you're taking a tincture because she gets a bit of a rattly cough, and she's like, well, if you give me a tincture, I'll give you a reading. Trades, love a little bit of a trade. And then you'd be like, you can then just freestyle it, and then she goes and she gives you a reading. Or you could say, you could actually describe how she does it, and that's like how she shuffles, the method of shuffling, if she lets you touch it. I think at this point, once I got to the bit about her doing the reading, I would allow my subconscious or my imagination or whatever it is that happens in these processes to allow her to conduct, as a character, as an archetype, to conduct the reading and to shuffle her cards and to lay as many cards out as she wishes. I personally probably wouldn't sort of explain every little detail, but that's because I'm a tarot reader. If I was doing a recording for someone that has never had a tarot reading and has never read tarot themselves, I would probably go into detail about the lady picks up the pack of cards and holds them in her hands for a few seconds. She asks you to hold out your palm. She places the cards upon your hand and places her hand over it. She asks you to take 3 deep breaths and to think about your question. She then asks you to tell her what the question is. She takes the cards from you and she begins to shuffle them slowly. She seems to go into a kind of semi-trance as she shuffles, and she just asks you to wait patiently and quietly as she does so. After what seems like a few moments, she fans out the entire deck, and she asks you to use your non-dominant hand to pick out 3 cards, let's say, and then you pick them out, 2, 3, and then you would place them over. It might be easier for someone who's not read tarot to use playing cards as the example. She asks you to pull 3 cards, 3 playing cards. What are those 3 cards as they lay over? Because most people are familiar with a pack of playing cards, and then they can interpret that. But here we're talking amongst ourselves as tarot readers or tarot enthusiasts. So anyway, I'm just sort of spitballing here. So yeah, that's just one way to go about it. But like I said, like, if you want me to sort of expand on anything that I've spoken about here, or give some other examples, or if you would maybe, I don't know, like me to do an actual pathworking write out, I don't know, it's not really something I usually do, but I know what I'm like, though. I'll say maybe I'll do this thing, and as soon as people are like, we want this, I'll sort of, my demand avoidance kicks in, then I don't want to do something. But like, let me know if there's any questions that you have about pathworking, and if these are kind of techniques that you try, or if you do pathworking, or if there is something here that's really intrigued you and you'd like to give it a try. Have you never pathworked before, but now this has inspired you? Let me know. I'm really interested. What was your favourite scenario here that you would like to sort of step into? Which one of these characters you'd like to meet, or paths would you like to walk? Let me know. But thank you so much for watching. This was a bit of I didn't write any notes for this one. I just winged it. I just sort of bleh everything out. Probably not the best way to have done it, and I think maybe the beginning was a bit sort of rambly and incoherent, but yeah, I really appreciate you taking time out of your day to listen to me ramble incoherently. So yeah, thank you so much. I hope that wherever you are safe and you are well, and I will see you in the next one. Ciao.